Hello, welcome back. Jimmy and I are here to talk about Flora and Ulysses and our literary essay that we're going to write this week. So this will be a 5-paragraph essay, and we will just do 1 paragraph a day. So get yourself something to write with. If you want to write in your journal, you can do that, or just any piece of paper is fine. Okay. Love this book. And it took me a really long time and a lot of discussion with you guys and other people to figure out what I wanted to have our essay be about, because there are so many things you could write about in this book. But I finally settled on the ways that Flora changes in the book and what we think makes her change. So there are also a lot of things that happen to make her change. Can you think of some? If you talk about how she is in the beginning, she's very cynical, she's lonely, she's angry, she doesn't trust anyone. And then things happen. And by the end, she's much more open and happy and less lonely. So when I was thinking about that, bye Jimmy, I thought about, of course, Ulysses. And then who else? I thought about William Spiver. And I thought about her father. We even did a little writing about her father, right? About how getting close with him again makes her feel less lonely and like someone is on her side. So, but then also Dr. Measham. Do you remember in that chapter when Dr. Measham really gives her this whole different perspective, this different way of looking at things? All that stuff about Blundermeeson and how in Blundermeeson they always leave their window open because something good might happen, something wonderful might come flying through the window, or they always answer their door because it might be some person they really want to see. Whereas Flora is the opposite. She's always like, well, terrible things can happen to you, and you have to anticipate all the bad things that might happen so that you can be prepared for them. So there are a lot of influences on Flora that help her become a more trusting, a more happy, and a less lonely person. But I didn't want to make you guys write a 12-paragraph essay, so I narrowed it down to 3. So what I'm going to do is help you through writing that with the 3 that I picked. But if you really want to write about a different one, write about a different one. And you can ask me questions about how to do it in the comments. You can shoot me an email. You can, if you have a meeting with me, you can do that. All right? But today, we're just going to start with the introduction. And just like other essays that we've written, we know that the introduction has a certain job to do, right? The introduction needs to, of course, let the reader know what your essay is going to be about. It needs to give a little bit of background information, and it needs to pose some kind of thesis or opinion or thing that you're going to prove with the rest of your essay. So, for this essay, I wanted to start out by explaining what book I'm talking about. So I have here 2 things. I've got my journal because I started to write this in my journal, and then because I kept changing my mind, I ended up just typing it because that was easier. So I started out my introduction like this. I said, Flora from Flora and Ulysses is a girl who is going through a difficult period in her life. And by saying that, my reader knows the character I'm talking about and the book that the character is from, and a tiny bit about the character. So I wrote, Flora from Flora and Ulysses is a girl who is going through a difficult period in her life. Go ahead and write a sentence that does something like that. Lets the reader know what character and what book. Okay? You can always pause this video whenever you need to. The next thing I did was I gave a little more background information. So what's difficult in her life? I wrote, her parents have divorced, her mother is critical and preoccupied with her romance novels, and she spends most of her time alone. She tells herself and everyone else that she is a cynic, and she doesn't trust anyone. Okay, so that's that background information part. I'm going to read that again. Her parents have divorced, her mother is critical and preoccupied with her romance novels, and she spends most of her time alone. Then one more sentence of background information. She tells herself and everyone else that she is a cynic, and she doesn't trust anyone. Okay, so now I've got introducing the topic, Flora from Flora and Ulysses, who's an unhappy little girl. Then I give a little more background information about why she's unhappy. Now, the last part is where I'm going to let the reader know this is my opinion or my thesis that I'm going to prove in my essay. So for that, I wrote, by the end of the book, some important things happen that cause Flora to open up and trust people again. There's my thesis. Okay? So those are the 3 sections of your introduction. Now I'm going to read the whole thing, start to finish. Flora, from Flora and Ulysses, is a girl who is going through a difficult period in her life. Her parents have divorced, her mother is critical and preoccupied with her romance novels, and she spends most of her time alone. She tells herself and everyone else that she is a cynic, and she doesn't trust anyone. By the end of the book, some important things happen that cause Flora to open up and trust people again. And that's my whole introduction. Here. There it is. Okay? So, get your introduction written, and tomorrow we are going to write our first body paragraph. Thanks. See you tomorrow. Bye.